Breaking. Newcastle makes £65 million SESKO bid as transfer battle heats up, plus BRUNO FERNANDES Saudi interest. Welcome back to United News, your most trusted source for Manchester United transfer news. We know how fast things move in the transfer window, and that's exactly why you need us. To keep you updated with the latest developments as they happen. Just when we thought we had the Benjamin Sesko situation figured out, everything has changed in the space of just a few hours. We've got some massive breaking news that will shock Manchester United fans. Newcastle have just made a formal £65 million bid for Benjamin Sesko, and the striker has been mysteriously left out of RB Leipzig's squad today. But that's not all. There's also huge news about BRUNO FERNANDES and interest from Saudi Arabia that could change everything at Old Trafford. If you're a United fan, you need to sit down for this one. The transfer window just got a whole lot more interesting, and we're here to break down exactly what it all means for your club. Breaking. Newcastle submit £65 million Sesko bid. Let's start with the bombshell news that's just broken. Newcastle United have made a formal offer of £65 million for Benjamin Sesko. This is potentially a club record fee for the Magpies, and it shows just how serious they are about beating Manchester United to this signing. Here's what makes this even more significant. Sesko has been left out of RB Leipzig's squad for their friendly against Atlanta today. Just a week ago, he was playing and scoring in Leipzig's 7-0 win over Toulouse. Now suddenly he's nowhere to be seen. What does this mean? Well, when a player gets dropped from the squad out of nowhere during transfer speculation, it usually means one thing: a move is very close to happening. The timing is incredible. Newcastle make their bid, and hours later, Sesko is out of the team. That's not a coincidence, is it? Reports suggest that Sesko has already told his Leipzig teammates that he's leaving this summer. The question now is, where is he going? The battle between Newcastle and United. This development completely changes the Sesko transfer story. For weeks, we've been hearing that Manchester United were confident about signing the Slovenian striker. Reports suggested he preferred Old Trafford, wanted to work with Ruben Amorim, and wasn't bothered about missing Champions League football for one season. But now Newcastle have put their money where their mouth is. A £65 million bid is serious business. It shows they're not messing around. What's interesting is that only Newcastle and Manchester United are now seriously in the race. Arsenal were linked earlier in the summer but moved for Victor Gyökeres instead. Liverpool never made a serious move. It's a straight fight between the two Premier League clubs. Recent reports from Slovenia suggested that Sesko had changed his mind and was now heading to St. James Park instead of Old Trafford. At the time, many people thought this might just be media speculation. But with Newcastle's formal bid coming in, maybe those reports were actually true. The big difference now is that Newcastle are the only club to have made a formal offer. United might be confident, they might have had positive talks with the player, but they haven't put an actual bid on the table yet. In transfer negotiations, being first to bid often gives you a big advantage. It shows you're serious, it gets the selling club's attention, and it puts pressure on other interested clubs to act quickly. Why Newcastle's bid makes sense. Let's think about why Newcastle would make such a big offer for Sesko. First, they've had a disappointing transfer window so far. The fans are getting restless because they haven't made any major signings yet. Landing a player like Sesko would be a huge statement and would get the supporters excited again. Second, they can offer Champions League football this season. That's a big advantage over Manchester United right now. For a young player like Sesko, playing in Europe's top competition could be very attractive. Third, Newcastle have the money to spend. Their Saudi owners have deep pockets, and a £65 million fee wouldn't be a problem for them financially. Fourth, they need a striker. Newcastle's attack was inconsistent last season, and adding someone like Sesko would give them the firepower they need to compete on multiple fronts. United's response: what happens now? So what can Manchester United do in response to Newcastle's bid? The obvious answer is to make their own formal offer. But here's the problem: United are operating under tight financial constraints due to profit and sustainability rules, PSR. The club has already spent big money on Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo this summer. They still have high-earning players like Jadon Sancho, Casemiro, and Antony on their books who they're struggling to sell. Can United really afford to match or beat Newcastle's £65 million offer? The reports suggest they have the money, but it might require some player sales first. Time is running out though. With just 1 week until the Premier League season starts, there isn't much time left to complete deals. If United are going to act, they need to do it very quickly. The other factor is what SESKO himself wants. If he's genuinely told his teammates he's leaving Leipzig, and if Newcastle's bid gets accepted, then United might find themselves out of the running regardless of what they can afford. The Alexander Isak connection. Here's where things get even more interesting. The article mentions that Liverpool fans might actually be hoping Newcastle signs SESKO. Why? Because it could make Alexander Isak more available. Think about it logically. If Newcastle spends £65 million on SESKO, would they really keep both him and Isak? That seems unlikely. They'd probably be more willing to listen to offers for Isak if they have SESKO coming in. Liverpool have already had a £120 million bid rejected for Isak, and they decided not to go back with a second offer. But if the situation changes and Newcastle become more willing to sell, maybe Liverpool would try again. This could create a domino effect. Newcastle signs SESKO, which makes Isak available, which gives Liverpool their striker target. Everyone gets what they want except Manchester United. It's the kind of scenario that could leave United empty-handed in their search for a new striker. What Leipzig want. RB Leipzig are clearly open to selling SESKO if the price is right. The fact that they've left him out of their squad today suggests they're expecting something to happen soon. Leipzig apparently want around £70 million for SESKO, using Hugo Ekitike's transfer to Liverpool as a benchmark. Newcastle's £65 million bid is close to that figure, so it might be enough to get negotiations started. The German club probably want to resolve the situation quickly, so they can plan for the new season. If SESKO is definitely leaving, they need time to find and sign a replacement. From Leipzig's perspective, Newcastle's formal bid gives them something concrete to work with. United's interest might be genuine, but until they make an actual offer, Leipzig can't make any real decisions. Breaking, Bruno Fernandes' Saudi interest. But wait, there's more breaking news that could completely change Manchester United's transfer plans. Portuguese publication Ebola is reporting that Saudi Arabian club NASSR are now targeting Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes. This comes after the player recently rejected a massive offer from Al Hilal worth £120 million to United and £70 million per year in wages for Fernandes. Now Al Nassr, managed by Portuguese coach Jorge Jesus, want to create a sensational reunion between Fernandes, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Joao Felix in Saudi Arabia. The report suggests that Jorge Jesus is preparing what could be the biggest market bomb by trying to sign Fernandes this summer. Money apparently won't be a problem, despite Fernandes being valued at £50 million by Transfermarkt, though United would want much more. Why this Bruno news matters. You might be wondering why Bruno Fernandes news is relevant to the SESKO story. Well, it's all connected. If United were to sell Bruno Fernandes to Saudi Arabia for a massive fee, it would completely change their financial situation. Suddenly, they'd have a huge amount of money to spend on new players, including strikers like SESKO. A £120 million sale of Fernandes would easily cover the cost of signing SESKO and still leave money left over for other positions. But here's the big question. Would United really sell their captain and best player? And would Fernandes want to leave after just rejecting a similar offer from Al Hilal? The report suggests it's unlikely that Fernandes would change his mind so soon after turning down the Al Hilal move. Ruben Amorim has made it clear he wants to keep his star player, and Fernandes has started pre-season in excellent form. Currently, Amorim seems to be planning to use Fernandes as part of a midfield pivot following the signings of Bryan Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha. The domino effect. Let's think about how all these stories could connect. Scenario 1. United keep Bruno Fernandes, struggle to match Newcastle's SESKO bid due to financial constraints, and miss out on their striker target. Scenario 2. United sell Bruno Fernandes to Saudi Arabia for huge money, use those funds to outbid Newcastle for SESKO, but lose their best player in the process. Scenario 3. Newcastle sign SESKO, become more willing to sell Alexander Isak, Liverpool get their man, and United end up with neither striker. None of these scenarios are ideal for Manchester United fans. Either they miss out on SESKO, lose Bruno Fernandes, or watch their rivals strengthen while they struggle. Time running out. The clock is ticking for all these deals. With just 1 week until the Premier League season starts, clubs need to act fast if they want to get business done. Transfer windows always get crazy in the final few weeks, but this one feels particularly intense. The SESKO situation could be resolved in the next few days, and the Bruno Fernandes interest adds another layer of complexity. United fans must be feeling very nervous right now. Their club's transfer plans could be completely derailed by Newcastle's aggressive move for SESKO and the Saudi interest in their captain. What United need to do. If Manchester United want to salvage their striker hunt, they need to make some big decisions quickly. First, they need to decide whether they're willing to match or beat Newcastle's £65 million offer for SESKO. If they are, they need to submit that bid immediately before Leipzig accept Newcastle's offer. Second, they need to be absolutely certain that Bruno Fernandes isn't going to Saudi Arabia. If there's any chance he might leave, they need to factor that into their planning. Third, they might need to accept that they can't get everything they want in this transfer window. Maybe they need to prioritize keeping Fernandes over signing SESKO, or vice versa. The worst thing United could do right now is hesitate. In transfer negotiations, hesitation usually means missing out. Newcastle's strategy. From Newcastle's perspective, this aggressive move for SESKO makes perfect sense. They've identified a top-quality striker who could transform their attack. They've made a serious bid that shows they mean business. And they're putting pressure on their competitors to act quickly or miss out. This is exactly the kind of decisive action that successful clubs take in the transfer market. While others talk and negotiate, Newcastle have put their money on the table. If they can pull off the SESKO signing, it would be a huge statement about their ambitions. It would show that they can compete with the biggest clubs for the best players. Fan reactions. Manchester United fans must be feeling pretty frustrated right now. Just when it looked like the club was making progress in the transfer market, everything seems to be falling apart. The SESKO links had given fans hope that United were finally going to sign a top-class striker. Now Newcastle's bid threatens to take that away. The Bruno Fernandes Saudi interest is even more worrying. Losing your captain and best player would be devastating, especially if it happens late in the transfer window when there's no time to find a proper replacement. United fans have been through so much disappointment in recent years. Another transfer window where the club fails to get their top targets would be very hard to take. The bigger picture. All of this chaos shows why Manchester United are struggling to get back to the top level. When you don't have Champions League football, when you have financial constraints, and when you can't make decisions quickly, you lose out on the best players. Newcastle can offer European football and have fewer financial restrictions. Saudi clubs can offer life-changing money. United are stuck in the middle, unable to compete on either front. This is the reality of where United are right now. They're not the dominant force they once were, and other clubs are taking advantage of that weakness. What happens next? The next few days could be crucial for Manchester United's entire season. If Newcastle's bid for SESKO gets accepted and United can't respond quickly enough, they'll miss out on their top striker target. If Saudi Arabia come back in for Bruno Fernandes with an even bigger offer, United might face an impossible decision. The club needs to show some decisive leadership. They need to either match Newcastle's SESKO bid immediately or move on to other targets. They need to give Bruno Fernandes absolute assurances about his future or accept that he might leave. Most importantly, they need to stop being reactive and start being proactive in the transfer market. Transfer window reality check. This whole situation is a perfect example of how quickly things can change in the transfer market. A few days ago, United fans thought SESKO was coming to Old Trafford. Now Newcastle are the favorites. A few weeks ago, nobody was talking about Bruno Fernandes leaving. Now it's a real possibility. Transfer windows are unpredictable, and clubs that don't adapt quickly get left behind. United are learning this lesson the hard way. Conclusion. What a difference a few hours can make in the transfer market. Newcastle's £65 million bid for Benjamin Sesko has completely changed the dynamics of this transfer saga. And the Saudi interest in Bruno Fernandes adds another layer of complexity that nobody saw coming. For Manchester United fans, this is a nerve-wracking time. Your club's carefully laid transfer plans are being tested, and the next few days could determine whether this summer ends in success or disappointment. Newcastle have made their move, and it's a bold one. They're showing the kind of decisive action that gets deals done in the modern transfer market. United now need to respond with equal decisiveness, or they risk missing out on their top targets. The Bruno Fernandes situation adds another element of uncertainty. While it seems unlikely that he'll change his mind about Saudi Arabia so soon after rejecting Al Hilal, football is unpredictable. If a big enough offer comes in, anything could happen. What's clear is that United can't afford to hesitate much longer. Time is running out, other clubs are moving quickly, and the new season is about to start. Whether it's keeping Bruno Fernandes, signing Benjamin Sesko, or finding alternative targets, United need to make big decisions now. We'll continue to follow all these developing stories here at Unite United News. When there are updates on Newcastle's Sesko bid, we'll bring them to you first. When there's more news on the Bruno Fernandes situation, you'll hear it here. When United finally make their move, we'll be there to cover every detail. That's what we do at Unite United News. We keep you informed about the stories that matter most to Manchester United fans. In a transfer window this crazy, you need a trusted source to help you make sense of it all. We're that source, and we'll keep bringing you the truth about what's really happening at Old Trafford. Stay tuned, because this transfer saga is far from over. The next few days could change everything for Manchester United, and we'll be here to guide you through every twist and turn.